Welcome back, everyone, to No One is Perfect. Hi, Christy.
Hi, Marty. Good to see you.
You too. So, Christy and I always have these great conversations before we even start the podcast. And we've really had this, really want to talk about this idea of spirituality. There's so much going on out there. There's so many things that can draw us in. And I know what we were talking about before this is to find what works for us
Yeah.
individually. To like, I like the old term from 12 steps, take what you like and leave the rest. And if you find something that resonates with you, it's like, oh, that's for me. And if you find stuff that you have resistance to, it could be genuine resistance, like there's something that's not right about that for me, or it can be non-resonance. So we really want to have this discussion today about spirituality and really how do we cultivate that within ourselves, no matter
Mhm.
what all the noise on social media or in different religions or in the world is, what feels rightest and truest for us individually. So here we
Mm.
are, Christy.
Hi, Marty. Such a conversation that can bring up many activations in people. Um, and my hope is it brings up curiosity and and hopefully if you can do your own check of, oh, that's not for me, or no, that's not true. And notice how that comes up because as I've watched there's so many things online now. And what I find fascinating is it's almost like we're losing our minds
Mm,
and someone else is holding what our belief system is based on what's coming through them or what they're channeling. Like some really popular channelers out there channel galactic beings. Some people channel Jesus. Some people channel Mary Magdalene, right? There's a whole book on Mary Magdalene that I've read that was
me too.
channeled. It was quite
Yep.
brilliant.
Mm-hmm.
Um, in general, what I've read, this is very interesting to me. I've read many, many books with people who've channeled. It always comes back to the same end result, which is love.
Yes. Mm.
However, I think it's its own kind of religiosity that's now galactic. Like, at what point do we come to do our own check in of what's true for me, not what someone tells me I should be doing, whether that's a galactic being, God, Jesus? There, there's so many names now that are online. What's true for me and what's my discernment? And that's really what we're going to talk about today.
Yes. I love that, Christy. We were talking beforehand. I saw the term galactic being, and I was telling you, I was like, wow, there it is. I noticed I had a lot of judgment about that.
Mhm.
There wasn't curiosity, and I just really paid attention. I'm like, wow, that's interesting. And I think in part of it is my childhood being told what to believe and being told in the religion of Catholicism that I grew up in. You weren't really given a choice. You were told this is how it is, this is it. And any kind of questioning you had was viewed as problematic. And it makes sense that you're in a system where everybody wants you to believe the same, be in the same, and it doesn't leave space for us to decide what works for us. So it was really wild noticing because we were talking about Lee Harris.
Yeah.
Lee Harris talks about channeling the disease. I totally believe the guy. I believe what he does. He's very authentic to me. There's
Yeah.
no way that I believe that we are the only beings like here on planet Earth, that there's not other beings elsewhere, whatever they look like, sound like. I have no idea. I don't have the answer for it. But it was funny that I'm like, that term, galactic beings. And I think it's part of what you said. I've seen more and more of that online. And some of the stuff that I've seen, I would definitely call it discernment and probably some sprinkled with some judgment thrown in. Like, that's not resonating for me. It's
Yeah.
not, it's feeling like, I think the big thing for me is for myself, as I've continued to work on my trauma that's been in the way, I find more of an opening to spirituality in a way that I was never raised with. And I like that. And to your point, I think it's so important that we all know we're not cookie cutter. There's not one way. Each of us individually can find the way that resonates with us. And that's really, again, what we hope for people to
Mhm.
find. And we were talking about all kinds of names, words, Jesus, and all that can be very triggering. And I told you the story. This I was at a meeting on Friday, and there was a wife of a friend of my husband's, and she had a ball cap that said Jesus on it, really big. And I laughed to myself because there was nothing offensive because I'm so into Jesus right now and the teachings of that. But I thought I could 100% wear that hat. But the meaning for me would be Jesus.
So different, and that could be for her.
Exactly.
I mean,
Exactly.
that's the assumption that you assume it's one thing.
Right.
I
Yeah.
had a little, it was probably a year ago. So funny. I've never had this happen. I worked on a new client, and at the end, he left. He came back, drove back, and said, I'm supposed to give you this. And it was one of those little rubber Jesus
Oh,
statues. And I'm like, well, how fascinating that I needed a Jesus. I had the best laugh, and I'm like, I probably do. Because for me today, let me just be super clear. Jesus represents an enlightened being to me
hmm.
that came to the planet to teach us what love is and to teach us how to open our hearts. Buddha came to teach us about the mind. Mary Magdalene and Mary, mother of Jesus, I believe those beings came in to teach us about love. Like there's so many stories and lessons within that
Yeah.
that I'm really glad today I can be open and not have a hard no and slam the door
Yes.
because
Yeah.
that's what I used to be because I think I really believe that's required if you leave a religion like I left the religion that I grew up in.
Hmm.
And I think there's a time and place for that door to be slammed. So
Yeah.
you can reorient and go, well, who am I without that? What am I?
Right.
What do I believe? And work through the anger and or maybe sometimes betrayal. Sometimes there's abuse that comes from cultures of religion, and it takes time to be able to come back into a space where you're not activated. And sometimes that's years. I know for me, it was years to where now I can look at that and go, oh, that's so funny and so interesting. And what are the pieces that I can pull from what I learned without throwing everything out?
Yeah. Yeah.
But what a process that has been for me. I'll speak for
Oh,
myself to come
huge.
back to a space of curiosity versus, oh, hell no,
Yeah.
and
It's
not
so, oh,
putting that wall up.
hmm. It's so interesting. We do have parallel lives that way. Like, I left Catholicism. I have a friend that still practices. I know people that do, and I'm like, that's great.
Yeah.
If it gives you meaning and purpose, it works for you, that's awesome. And I would never try to tell someone else what to believe. I would share my beliefs, but that doesn't mean anyone else has to believe the way I do. And I do think, like, I looked at my leaving Catholicism as a detoxification process for me.
Mhm.
It was because I look at everything that I was taught to believe. And I mean, I joke with other, ex-Catholics, and they always joke, you're always kind of Catholic on some level, the guilt, the shame, and then the guilt is huge. I don't think it ever necessarily completely leaves you. And you're just basically taught, at least in the way I was, that you are born sinful. You are born, with stuff
Mhm.
scored on your heart. You virtually have to spend the rest of your life like bowing to a highly narcissistic God that's a white male, which we've talked about before. And it's
Yeah.
so much richer than that for me now. It's so much richer. And then that profound spiritual experience I had in my 20s just rearranged my brain and changed how I saw things. And it's still forever a work in progress for me. But like you, I do see things that I'm like, oh, that's interesting. And that seems kind of punitive and punishing. And I, and the near death experiences that I watch, it's always ultimately ends up being about love,
Yeah.
about love. Yeah.
Yeah, and I feel like most of the messages that are coming through from people who are channeling, whatever being that may be,
Yeah.
overall it is about love and that we can't save our planet by killing each other, which to me isn't a bad message. I don't care where it comes
Yeah,
from.
I don't either.
It's,
Yeah.
collectively it is about love. And I think the most important part is it doesn't matter where it comes from. If that's the message, what's right for you and your heart,
Yeah.
how you live your life, because at the end of the day, that's the only thing that matters.
Right. It's so true. It just made me think about, the rescue world that I've been involved with. And this is truly how I feel about it now, having been in it a bit. It's never the animal that's really the problem for me. It's the human and the humans that I've dealt with that I'm like, they can be quite disappointing to me.
Mm,
And what I see even in that world is when the ego takes over, the dog gets lost in the process.
mm,
And I think that's true in anything, be it a religion or a channel or when the ego starts to take over, it's like things just get lost in translation. The very human part of us is the thing that messes up. It's like that documentary, The Year the Earth Changed during COVID, when all the humans were shut down and how the animal kingdom
yeah.
thrived without our interaction. That should tell us something,
Hmm.
if we're curious about that.
Well, and that's what my hope is that we can, as human beings, stay curious
Yes.
and notice when there is a trigger to be curious about it.
Yes. Like
And
galactic. Yeah.
yeah, whatever it is,
Yeah.
because there's so many different, based on your belief system, what you're going to believe or feel about something.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think we have enough polarization right now in our world that curiosity or tell me more about your point of view.
Right.
Not that I need to agree with you or you need to agree with
Exactly.
me, Marty, but I'm curious about tell me why you believe that and where does it come from? And because there's always a story behind a belief.
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
sometimes it's a generational story.
Yes. Yes.
And I think there's a lot of wisdom to be held within those old systems too. And to not be so hard around that you have to be right and they have to be wrong.
Yeah, I mean, and you just see so much of that right now, this righteous indignation or this moral superiority. Like,
Yeah.
that's often my time to run as fast as I can in the opposite direction, when I'm met with that. It's like, okay, like there's even like, we talked about the galactic being thing. I'm like, gosh, I'm curious. What is that judgment about for me? Like, what's that triggering in me? What's that bring up for me? And to ask myself that question, I think that's a great thing to be like, interesting that I feel that way about it. Like what's there, what's below the surface. And I think, and years ago, I had a friend, I mean, years ago, talked to me when I was deeply still entrenched in Catholicism. She grew up very differently, talk about reincarnation. I was literally like, do not talk to me about that. Like it was
Right.
so visceral. And it's like, what's that about? And I mean, I 100% believe in it now, which is fascinating because I was so
Yeah.
rejecting of that idea. And it's like, but it pushed against everything that I was programmed. And I would say programmed
Well, you were taught to
to
believe that
believe.
it was dangerous.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Right.
Because it doesn't fit within that paradigm.
Yeah, and then when I really thought about it, I'm like, it just makes way more sense to me than the whole heaven and hell thing. Like, it makes more sense to me to want to be a better person
Mhm.
than the heaven or hell ever did for me, which is fascinating. And again, that's me. That
Yeah.
doesn't mean that's anybody else.
Yeah. It's been, it's quite a journey coming. I mean, I'm 55 today. You're how old, Marty?
64.
64. So we're about 10 years difference. Both of us coming from a really strict religious background. And for me, I know I shut all of that off for a while.
Oh
And
yeah.
today I'm super curious.
Yeah.
And I know for me, I definitely believe in a higher intelligence. I believe that I'm part of that intelligence. Um, and that I really don't know much.
Oh my gosh, that's what I mean. Like when I think about the whole universe, I'm like, I have no idea what else is going on out there, but I know, I just believe there's way more than I'm capable of grasping here in human form. That's why I think I'm just so drawn to the near death experience because they so many of them just get this experience of just all this amazing other stuff that's surrounding to us that and in a body on planet Earth, just the focus gets more narrowed, you know.
We can't see it.
No, no.
And I think when someone has a near-death experience, it changes their life so much
Mm-hmm.
that they're never the same. And that is
Never.
a spiritual experience.
Absolutely.
And I think there's more and more of that, really. And we have access to that more than we ever have
Yes.
because of YouTube and documentaries and Gaia, which I love to watch
Right.
those to make us curious.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like, and so many of them were said, this happened, and I was told, like, share the message. And one gal in particular said, you don't have to die to get this experience. And that's really what I experienced. I didn't die, but I had this profound shifting in my consciousness, driving around doing the least spiritual thing
Tell
you
that
can do.
story again, Marty, just so people,
Yeah,
if they
I
don't know it.
was maybe 26, driving around Chicago, doing my like outside sales job, dealing with traffic, listening to these. They were called Life and Teachings of the Masters of the Far East by Baird T. Spalding. And I was at a Unity church at the time, and this gal just shoved them to me. They were cassettes. Listen to those. Oh my goodness. I listened to him over and over and over. I couldn't stop listening to him. And then all of a sudden it was like, whoa.
Mhm.
Like I had this knowingness, not from arrogance at all, but like, this is truth that I'm
Yeah.
hearing. And it was such a different way to see things. It was about like the devil and where could the devil possibly be, and Jesus in such a different way, and Mary Magdalene and Mother Mary, and the whole idea of enlightened masters and our journey as humans on. I always remember this line: man will go on in the hard way until he realizes there's a better way. Always struck me. And I think planet Earth in a body, this is the hard way. It's a hard
And we're
way.
learning.
Exactly. And that's a big part of our learning process. It's
Yeah.
to be in a body and to have this experience and to learn and grow from that too.
And I would also say to, for me, I'll speak for me again, forgiveness around the past so we can grow. What
Yeah.
I've seen in my practice and myself is the longer that I hold on to a grudge or something that I hate or that I feel bitter about, it also holds on in my soft tissue, in my nervous system, in my lymphatic system, in my brain. And as I've done healing work through many different modalities, what I've noticed is as those feelings are expressed, as that event is witnessed by another human being, and even like the inner child piece, the little child is witnessed and taken care of by me. So many of those restraints in my psychic field of what I can believe, what I can't forgive, like broke free.
Yeah.
And we were talking in the beginning that you can't think your way through forgiveness. I think you feel your way through, however that is. And even coming to a place of like, I think you can forgive and not have to. Love is a interesting term. To forgive and be neutral and have the charge not be there is healing.
Oh, huge. It's
You
huge.
don't have to love someone, say you had a parent that was abusive. It's such a weird bending of the brain that you have to love them. And I think you can forgive and become neutral and that also is love.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's so true. And it's not the standard form of love. Like it's like the commandment, honor thy father and mother. And I remember when I realized, I'm like, wait a minute, don't they need to behave honorably to be
Yes, they
honored? Am
do.
I supposed to just honor them because they're my parents? No.
Mhm.
Like there's so much to that. Are they cultivating the honor, that kind
Right.
of thing. Otherwise, that's that whole trap on, they're beating me, but I'm still supposed to honor them. And then
Yeah.
that's when, like you said, stuff gets stuck in the tissues and in our nervous system. And, it's like I always say, I'm so happy for you. Because you're
Yeah.
like trying to be something that you're not. And I've always found this, especially in the tapping world, when we can honor our truth, the unadulterated, full-blown truth without the trying to be appropriate, and in my world, to tap through that, it sets us free. Then
Yep.
forgiveness comes with ease. We've talked about this many times without having tried to forgive. And yeah, that same thing of I have such compassion for both my parents now that I didn't have when I was told they did the best they could. And I never got my feelings heard or validated when I started to be able to do that for myself. Then it was like so much shifted in the best possible way. And it
Yeah.
wasn't about like, I could understand they were wounded too. They did the things they did. We're all trying to figure it out. I've wounded my kids, and it's like,
Mhm.
okay, I can own what I can own and be the best that I can be with that. But yeah, the just the spirituality thing, it's like it's everyone's got to find the way that makes sense for them.
Yeah. And trust that what feels good to you and what feels good in your heart. And if I think there's a resonance of truth in most messages.
Yeah,
It doesn't mean you have to be converted to the message.
exact. I love that. I love that. Yeah, there's take what you like and leave the rest. Oh, that
Yeah.
makes so much sense to me. But that part doesn't really fit for me.
Yeah. And then people don't get put on a pedestal that always falls
Oh, always.
because they're
Every time
human.
I've ever put anybody on a pedestal, boom.
Right. And then when that does happen, there's a whole loop underneath that of how could I have done that again? And why did I give them my power? And I think we're in such a different time today about even the question of what is power, who holds my power, how do I access my power?
Right,
And we have access to so much.
right, right.
And I also think that as we get quiet once a day on a hike, doesn't mean you have to sit and hold your fingers together and meditate. That is not what I'm saying.
Yeah,
But to get quiet without distraction in your ears, in your eyes, to connect back to nature, that is the guidance that we seek.
yeah,
And what comes
absolutely.
through you is exactly what needs to be for you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I know I was running around this morning like I always do. And I was like, just go sit outside without the dogs, without the cats, and just sit in the front chair, even if it's for 3 minutes.
Yep.
And maybe it was 3 minutes, maybe it was five, but I just sat there, felt the sun, just took a couple breaths, just gave myself that little break. And it was amazing. And that's why I think like, people like, I got this thought when I was in the shower, because I think there's more, the negative ions is shifting and there's just more access to it. Or,
Yeah.
we wake up in the middle of the night like, whoa, there's that thought. So we have more access to that the collective, whatever one
Because
chooses to
it's
call it.
always there.
Yes, always.
It
Oh,
doesn't go away. It doesn't sleep. It's
yeah,
always present.
yeah.
And I think our own humanness to our addictions to not want to feel, right? And we work or we drink or sex or smoking, pick your addiction. Everyone has one.
Yes.
And to notice when you want to do it. I
Mm-hmm.
have no judgment, believe me. I have a full list. But when I notice I want like, a glass of wine or some chocolate, something to satiate my anxiety, for me to do it more consciously versus mindlessly
Oh, so true.
and slow down in that is has been so helpful for me.
Yeah,
And to come into my body first and then have
right.
whatever that is.
Yeah. Yeah, I was in a situation over the 4th of July all of a sudden, and I'm like, whoa, I'm really triggered here. And I just paid attention to it. I
Mm,
didn't try to make myself feel different. I definitely did some things to really take care of myself. I saw the resentment starting to build, and I was like, Mark, go take care of yourself now. And it was just great. Was it kind of messy? Yeah. But it was like, wow, I stayed present with myself.
mhm.
I didn't abandon myself in that moment. I just stayed present with the emotions and what I was feeling. And amazingly, when I got to the other side of it, it was like, wow, there's another profound piece of healing
Yeah.
that was coming up for me to take a look at. And like really getting in touch with this piece in my life when I was younger around bullying that I'm like, wow, it's just been profound.
And don't you think, I know for me, it creates so much more expansion in my physical body. And I would say my energetic or spiritual body to be able to know that you can do that, that you have a choice of how long you're going to stay in the trigger, to allow it to be there though, because you can't bypass it.
Right.
You took care of it, you took time, you did what was needed, and then it moved through you instead of getting stuck in your face or your butt or your foot or because energy has to move.
Yes, it does.
And the longer we leave a hurt or a trigger, a wound in us, the more dense our body becomes. And that's what creates pain over time. And sometimes it's psychosomatic pain, sometimes it's physical pain.
Yeah.
And to trust our guidance, which come back to circle back, our guidance is spirit,
Yeah.
which is ours connecting to that intelligence. That's how I see that.
Oh,
And whatever intelligence or being that you want to learn from, great.
yeah. I mean, who am I to tell you what it
You're
is for you?
right.
It's like I always joke and say, Fred Flintstone, the dinosaurs, Jesus, but I don't care, whatever it works for you. That's why I always think in 12 steps, it's higher power.
Yeah.
What is that? What's that personal thing for you? And then there's freedom in that. There's absolute freedom in that. And
Yeah.
yeah, and again, as I keep staying present with myself in those moments of triggers, it just creates more space because more of the muck gets cleared out where there's more access. That's the other thing, Christy, I've noticed in this past month, the synchronicities are like ping, like a pinball machine. Bing, 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 bing. And like, whoa, there's spirit. Whoa, there's spirit. Like just when I think something's going south and whoa, something. And I know it's some like a power greater than my small self, the ego
Yeah.
self. Because I was like, I couldn't have made that. I couldn't have manifested that in
Right.
this. It just came because there's a part of me that like offered it up and let go.
Offered up your resistance.
Yeah, it's like, and then it created space for the miracle to come. And I'm
Yeah.
like, I just have seen so many of those recently. And I'm like, that's wild.
It's so cool.
It's so cool.
One of one of the teachers that I've learned from described that is the infinity loop.
Mm,
And as we exhale, I release my resistance. which is our mind, needing to be right, needing to um, need people to agree with us. I release my resistance on the out breath and I receive grace, I receive healing or guidance on my in breath.
I love that.
And that's reciprocity again with Mother Earth.
Yeah, I love that. I love
And
that.
to do that, if you get stuck outside with a thought, to offer it up to this beautiful world we live in.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
And it can be that simple in a practice.
Yeah. Yeah, it's so true. It's just, it made me think of, I was talking to someone earlier today and they were saying they felt like they were being tested. And it's interesting. I just said, can I just offer a perspective? And I said, you don't need to believe this at all. I don't believe that we're tested anymore. That's me. It's me.
Mhm.
I don't believe that we're tested. I think there's a soul curriculum. This is Marty Murphy's personal opinion. And I think things come into our world to help us, to open us to see things differently, to help us grow and expand. And then for me, it goes back to that like, I'm going to allow spirit to move through me. What's for the highest good here? I
Yeah.
don't have to have the answer. The answer can come through me rather than by me. And it was like, and the person I was talking to was like, wow, that's really helpful because otherwise the test to me is punitive. You're being
Yeah.
tested to see, like, will you pass? And it's like, are you
Right.
committed? And it's like, oh my God,
Which
that's
goes
me though.
back again, though, to old religion. And
Yeah.
I think reframing it like you just did is really helpful.
Yeah, it has been for me in my life because otherwise it was just more, oh, now I'm being punished again because I'm being tested to see. It's like, I'm so done with all the like,
Mhm.
I mean, I still have it in me, so I still have
Yeah.
to catch it and be like, wow, there it is again.
Yeah. Because it dances with us,
Mm-hmm.
the past and the present and what we're moving into. It does. It goes in and out. And I think if people can, I know for me, if I can see that as there it is, what's my next move? What's my next choice?
Yeah.
And move from there. But to
Yeah.
slow down in it is probably the biggest piece.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, and it's like talking about different people that we follow to understand that we can move away from them at some point if it's like, I don't know, it's just like this was working for me and it's not now. There's nothing wrong with that.
Totally.
And also to notice that we're all evolving. Like what someone believes 5 years ago, they're a different person
Mhm.
today. So beliefs can shift and change. And as we gain wisdom, and you can hear all that stuff. Beliefs are beliefs. Well, are they curious? Can I be curious? Are they? Are
Yeah.
they? Can
And
they
they
change?
change like the wind.
Yeah,
They
right.
do. And it's okay to let them change
Yeah, yeah,
and really practice. I know for me, the practice of trusting myself and my connection to that, let it move through me, has allowed me to do so much more healing
yeah.
um, than needing to be right and vindictive and revengeful, because I've done all that too.
Oh,
I think
yeah.
that's part of the process.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
yeah, we're here to grow and we're here to learn. And
Mhm.
Marty, I really appreciate this conversation because I have it with many people and just what I've noticed online today with the conversation, a woman's channeling Jesus. I'm like, okay.
Yeah,
And I was curious because
right. Yeah,
I'm like, I don't know anyone that channels Jesus.
right.
And I listened to it and I'm like, well, that was really good.
Yeah.
And
I
like you and I were saying before, she doesn't need permission from anyone.
no, no.
And her message is be loving, be kind, like all of the things we just talked about.
Yeah. Yeah, that's fascinating. There was a woman I knew years ago, actually, when I was in Utah on a different thing that channeled Prince. And I was like, I don't know what I think about it. I mean, I don't. I'd watch her on stage and it was hilarious to me. Sometimes she'd go, I know that, I know that. And she's like shuffing it off. And I'm like, well, that's curious. That's interesting. And then I watched a girl recently, no matter what people think about Michael Jackson, I have a completely different view of him in a better way than I ever had. And it was wild that I found this thing and I'm like, I was meant to watch this because it was all about this energy that's around in regards that, with the movie and stuff coming out. And I was like, oh, that's fascinating that I was meant to hear this. Because for me, anything that comes to me to help me alleviate more of my judgment or more of my, well, they said it, so it must be true,
Yeah.
and not be curious and not question. And, now there's so many things that I'm like, it's so different than what we're being told, you
Yeah.
know, or can be very different. And it goes back to that, like, I'm just going to try and remain curious. Like I always joke with Liam, my husband, I'm like, dude, you take question everything to a whole new level.
Which is a different conversation.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
So,
Because there's wisdom in trust too.
yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. But no, it's been a great conversation, Christy. And yeah,
Loved it, Marty. Thank you
yeah.
so much.
Thank you. And thank you, everyone. And if this resonates with you and you want to share it with others, please subscribe also. And we're always happy to have you here.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. Bye for now.